Thanks to the support as a channel member, Curtis Rothwell. Well, there you go, boys and girls. Now we are world champions. Everything is looking good here at Manchester United. We've spent £300 million to sign the best player in the world. Now we just have to finish off the summer transfer window, recoup some of that £300 million as much as we can, and then I think we probably need to sign a new midfield player, but we're nearly there. This is the year we go invincible and we win everything. Guaranteed. Hello and welcome to Club 3, part 21 of Non-Elite to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode is the rest of our summer transfer window after we've just won the Club World Cup. We've already done some of the transfer window, so if you ignored the last episode because it was just the Club World Cup, you missed me spending £300 million on Lamine Yamal to stop him signing for rivals Manchester City. As a result of that, we've also already sold Endrick. He's gone to Atletico for £81 million. And one of our youngsters that we don't use or didn't use has made his loan to Hull permanent. The fact that Championship Hull can spend £13 million on a relatively untried young player, that's everything that's wrong with football in the future. Managed by Phil Neville as well. Absolutely bananas. We're adding to that by selling Ayala. He's off to Stuttgart. He is actually homegrown at club, and there's a few of our homegrown at club players who are going to be leaving us this summer. Mainu has already got a confirmed deal for him to head off to Saudi Arabia. I think, is he going to Saudi Arabia? Yeah, he's going to Al Hilal, and we just delayed that so he could play in the Club World Cup final. So he's going to be going to us. We do need to be a little bit careful about making sure we're maintaining enough homegrown at club players. With those two leaving, that does bring us down to just two, and Garnacho wants to leave as well. So that would leave us just with Ricky Pilbro. We do have some that will eventually become homegrown at club, but I might just have a little look to see if there are any homegrown at club players out there that we could potentially bring in. For example, I know in my England squad, there is a goalkeeper who could probably come in as our backup goalkeeper. Was he in the most recent squad? This guy, I think, is homegrown at club. He is at Chelsea, which is not ideal. Yeah, he's homegrown with us. So we might look to bring him in as our backup goalkeeper, although I'm not paying £60 million for a backup goalkeeper, no matter how homegrown he is. Yeah, that ain't happening. But there's going to be lots, and we've got a good youth setup. There's going to be lots of homegrown at Manchester United players out there that we could potentially bring in. Maybe we could bring back Shea Lacey after he's just won the Champions League. And I suspect he's not going to get into the team on our wing with some of the best wingers in the world ahead of him on the list. But we do need to make sure we don't get to the point where we can't register a Champions League squad, because that would leave us in a bit of a pickle. And also, we're Manchester United. We have to have some academy boys knocking around. We might have to really fight to keep Garnacho, or try and convince Mainu that he should stay. I mean, I'd like to keep him, but he wants to leave. I guess he's ready for the big payday. He's been here his entire career, has now won just about everything with us, and is ready to go and earn £1 million a week at Al Hilal. I get it. I'd like to keep him for one more year if possible. Starting to regret selling quite so many of the youngsters who weren't getting in the team. Team Rocket, we'd love to have him back. He went to Arsenal for £36 million. They've not used him. He's only started 4 games. They want £180 million for him. So we're not getting him back. Hassledin, who, to be fair, I didn't sell. But Chelsea spent £24.5 million for him. We should have bought him then when he was at Sunderland. Chelsea spent £24.5 million on him, and he's not played, and now they want £60 million for him. We are trying to get Keith Wilson back, who we only sold last summer. He went to Alaves, had quite a decent season playing in La Liga for them, and his release clause is actually less than what we sold him for. We sold him for 12 million. We can buy him back for 8.5. So I think he's going to be coming back in just as a squad player. I mean, he won't play. He will be the 25th man in our Champions League squad, but we might well need a 25th man if Mainu and Garnacho both leave. Plus, he wants to leave because they got relegated. So he can come home and just be a reserve for a year while some of these youngsters get old enough to become homegrown at club, because we do have some who will get there. For example, Jacolis, he'll get there in 2 years. I think Pintarich will get there as well. Will he get there? No, he won't get there. There are a few. I mean, he'll obviously get there. Ornelas, who we've just signed. Filieri, will he get there? Yeah, Filieri's only got one more year before he's homegrown at club. So we've got a few who are going to become homegrown at club. We just need them to get there. So he can be, wherever he is, he can be a 1 year solution, and then we'll sell him off again next summer. If I'm still here, if we win the Champions League, I'll be gone and focusing on England. So it's someone else's problem at that point. I've just looked at Mainu. He's out of contract at the end of the season, so we do kind of have to sell him now because he wants to leave, won't discuss more terms with me, knows they can offer him more money. We need to convince Garnacho to stay. I think that's probably quite important. I mean, we've convinced him that that's the price that, I mean, no one's going to pay that. I don't think we need to worry about that. I think Garnacho stays because no one's giving us 112 million for him. These two can go. If we keep Garnacho, we've still got Pilbro. We bring Wilson in. That's 3 homegrown at club players. That's probably enough. That might be okay. Right, we've sold Vieto to Barcelona. So, I mean, it shows he was quite good. He's the one who almost went to Coventry, who I pulled out of just as I was leaving. We've never really used him, but he's had a couple of decent loans and has now gone to Barcelona. So I imagine he'll be like Benitez, who went to Real Madrid and end up becoming a superstar. He's already got 5 caps for Argentina. But that's him moved on. I think I'm going to risk upsetting Mainu. I think we've got to keep him. If we look at our depth in midfield, we've got Ireland and Larson, who would be our starters. Filieri and Pilbro are probably the next set. But then it's Mainu, and I just can't find anyone else to replace him. There is not another player of that quality available anywhere near that kind of price range. We've got to spend 150 million plus to bring in a new 5th choice central midfielder. And that just seems insane. I don't want to get in the way of Filieri or Pilbro. So I think we just say to Mainu, you run down your contract, you leave for free. I think we're better off letting him leave for free next summer than we are selling him now. It is going to risk him getting a grumpy on. There you go. Let's see if Ireland can calm him down. He was probably very much looking forward to that payday. I've made my decision as I don't. What's it going to see? I just want to say to him, I'll let you leave for free. Your wages, blah blah blah. I can't afford to lose you. You're going nowhere. It's not an option, is it? I just want a you can leave for free. How much does he want to stay? I'd be happy to stay for a wage of £750,000 a week. Yeah, that's not going to happen. No, that's also not going to happen. I mean, and I can't do any of the options that I can't just say no. Can you come down any further? 650? No, just no. He's just going to have to run down his contract. Hopefully, he's not going to be too grumpy. Obviously, he's one of our team leaders. Well, in fact, he's not. He's a highly influential player. So we've got to keep him happy to a point, but he obviously can't get that kind of money. He can go and earn that next year. I'm going to take him off the transfer list and just let him run down his contract. I think that's the sensible thing to do. We need him as a homegrown player. Well, Keith Wilson is back. He'll never play, but I mean, he'll play in an absolute crisis, but he's here, so we can get him in the Champions League squad. We've also had Mainu announce that he's going to leave on a free transfer at the end of the season, which makes him no longer unhappy, which is good. These two are probably still going to be leaving, and no one's going to pay that price for Garnacho. So that all of that means we will have all of these homegrown at club players. I mean, obviously, a couple of these are youngsters that we're not actually taking into account. So if we just go back to the first team squad, 4 homegrown at club first team players, another 4 homegrown in nation. That's what we need for the Champions League. Now we just need to get rid of the extras who might not get in the squad because there's more than 25 of them. Because at the moment, our first team squad is 30 players. So there's another 5 of these that still need to move on. I mean, Kuenov is an obvious one. If anyone wants to give me a decent offer for Heilbronn, we'll perhaps let him go as well. Because at 22, he's not likely to get into the team in either of those positions. Same thing that caught Endrick up and led to him leaving. De La Torre probably leaves as well. And then that just leaves a couple more. I mean, there are a couple of youngsters who we could probably leave out of the squad and then not be particularly upset about it. Deli, Ornelas, Philip. I think we'll be fine with registering a Champions League squad. It should be okay. we do still have a gazillion pounds to spend, by the way, as well. So, you know, if anyone really good does come up, we do still have the option to throw some money around. Well, we ended up buying that goalkeeper anyway. Haseldin has returned to Manchester United, £61 million for what is effectively our third choice goalkeeper. But we had so much money to spend and it just helps with squad registration. So I figured it made sense. We've also sold Van der Windham because he wasn't ever going to get anywhere near the team. He's not actually been that impressive in recent years either. We've certainly got much better options up front, much better options on either flank. He was like fourth choice in all of the positions he could play. So to get £90 million for him from Real Madrid seemed like a good idea to me. Didn't seem like a good idea to most of the dressing room. He was a team leader. They've got a grumpy on about it. And most annoyingly, I've now had to promise them that I'll strengthen the team on the left wing. That's a left wing where we've got Lamine Yamal, Joe Ireland, Bruno Muniz, Thomas Strobel. 4 of potentially the best players in the world. I mean, I don't even know what I do to strengthen that. I don't actually think it's possible to do. Aside from that, we also loaned out De La Torre. He's gone to Cardiff on loan for the season. He wanted to leave, so that's the best deal all round as far as he's concerned. And we ended the window with a spend of 480 million, receiving 251 million. Obviously, the bulk of our spend was on Yamal. And then we brought in some youngsters plus the backup goalkeeper. Big sales. Obviously, Van der Winden, Endrick, Ayala as third choice left back, but a homegrown at club player that kind of indirectly led to that transfer happening. But I'm pretty happy with the business and the balance of the squad. Our wage expenditures only 4th highest in the Premier League. Ridiculously, Spurs spending considerably more than we are, which just seems absolutely bananas. And we've started the season pretty strongly as well, at least in the league. We lost the Community Shield on penalties to Manchester City. We got knocked out of the EFL Cup by Everton on penalties, but we have won our first 3 league games. So the Premier League looks like this. We are joint top with Brighton and Arsenal. And the match I'm going to show you in this episode is Inter in the Champions League. So we'll play Spurs off camera, then we'll do Inter, and then that'll be it. So I'll meet you at the Inter game where you'll get to see Lamine Yamal play for the first time. I've only seen him play once. He scored on his debut and immediately got injured, but hopefully he'll be fit again in time for Inter and we can see our new look front 3 in all its delicious glory. I think it's all important to remember when we look at a screen like this that we did just look at a screen a moment ago where we saw that Spurs spend nearly £2 million a week more than us on player wages. We had a lovely day against them, a really genuinely lovely day. But now we play Inter, and unfortunately, Yamal's still not fully fit to play. He'll come off the bench, but we don't get to see the magical front 3 together just yet. So it's going to be Canizares in goal, a back 4 of Aketsi, Bordalas, Memishi and Everton Antonio, Steve, Larson and Ireland in midfield, Strobel on the left, Muniz on the right and Ilunga up front. I mean, it's still a very, very strong front 4, really, if you count Ireland as part of that as well. And we didn't end up putting Keith Wilson in the Champions League squad. We didn't need him, so bless him. He's, after years of not getting a look in here at Man United, all these loans, he finally got to go out, prove himself, play a full season of top flight football. We bring him back cut price. He thinks he's finally going to make his dreams come true. He's not even in the Champions League squad, and he'll probably not play for us and be sold next summer, especially because Haseldin coming in means that we really, really didn't need him. Because we ended up, we've got 5 homegrown at club players. We could have sold Mainu. Although, to be fair, we would have then been a little bit light in central midfield. But the important thing is, let's go get off to a winning start in the Champions League. Our big priority this season is win the Champions League. Obviously, we've made it to the last 2 finals. We need to win it this time, or I'm going to be very, very sad. And I don't want to be very, very sad. And Strobel, who, I mean, has a lot to prove. I mean, he was fantastic for us last season. I would argue was probably the best of the front 3 last season, but he's the one whose position in the team is most under threat from Yamal arriving, because we're not going to play Yamal up front, so Elunga's not going to lose his spot there, and Muniz is so young and so talented and is our Ronaldo regen So we're not going to take him out of the team either, although we could potentially move him up front. There's lots of possibility for rotation and different combinations of the 5 or 6 players we've got who can play in that front three. I mean, Heilbronn has looked good in the couple of times he's come off the bench, scored in the game against Spurs, had another one disallowed. So he's looking like he might finally be becoming the player that we spent all that money on when I first arrived here from Coventry. So I'm hopeful that we've got a lot of good options up front, even though we've lost Hendrik and Van der Winden, who played a lot of minutes between them last season. Maniz plays it across to Ilunga. Ilunga back to Maniz. He finds Ireland. There's Strobel. I mean, all 4 of them got a touch on the ball there, but we don't come away with a goal. The post denying us, but Larson bursts back into the area, and there is Bruno Maniz, and that's his 3rd goal of the season. It's 1-0 to us against Inter, and I'm very much enjoying Bruno Maniz this season and really looking forward to seeing him play as a centre forward as well, because as you saw there, his finishing is starting to pick up, and I'm hoping he continues the Ronaldo career trajectory. Obviously, we brought him in from Sporting. He came in as a winger for us. Is this going to be his breakout season where we move him up front, he scores loads of goals, and then we sell him to Real Madrid? Who knows? If we win the Champions League with him playing as centre forward for us, I don't care what happens after I leave. I'll be focusing on England winning a World Cup, which, by the way, I didn't realise when I took the England job. I'll be focusing on England retaining the World Cup. England are the current holders of the World Cup. They actually won the Euros in 2028, the World Cup in 2030. So, there's quite a lot of pressure on me as England manager. And as you saw just a couple of days ago, I mean, it didn't go very well, did it? So Alan Kardec, who's up front for Inter, is a player we were chasing as far back as when I was at Coventry, I think. That's a name I've seen come up a lot. So interesting to see him. I'm sure he was a right back as well. So interesting to see him playing as the striker for Inter. There's Larson. That's a 1st goal of the season for him. It's a good finish as well. Strobel's picked up a knock, so that makes it easy to bring Yamal on at half time. So we're going to get 45 minutes of the Lamine Yamal show, hopefully. But I want to have a look at Kardec, because I'm sure he was a right back. I don't know why the name sticks out for me. Sometimes you see a player come up on the scout reports and they just stay with you. But there's Yamal coming on. And now if we could get back to Inter, Alan Kardec is not a right back. I don't know why I thought he was a right back. Maybe he's a right back in my Twitch save or something. Who knows? But we are 2-0 up, and there is Yamal. That is the front three. That's the dream. I don't think it gets any better than that. I think that's the best front three in world football. So let's see them put on a show together in this second half. Steve plays it out to Yamal, who gives it to Ireland. Ireland back to Yamal, who takes a heavy touch but still comes away with the ball. Look at him, just dancing past players. Oh, my word. Oh, my goodness me. That could have been absolutely spectacular. And, of course, he can take the corners up. He's also over 6 foot tall in the save. He's not that in real life, is he? I remember him playing for Spain back in the summer. He seemed like a little guy. I mean, I guess he's still growing. Maybe that's why he's like, I think he's like 6'1", this version of him, which I'm very confident he's not 6'1" in real life. I could be wrong. Yeah, 6'1". There's a lot of him, but he looked very good there. And now Inter trying to get a goal back, and they have got a goal back, and it's a very good goal as well. Absolutely thundering it past Canizares. And we certainly don't want to be dropping points in either of the league competitions, the Premier League or the Champions League. We want to be dominant in both. Maniz, Yamal is at, what a save that is. I mean, that's one of history's great saves. He caught it as well. Goodness me, Yamal, absolute sitter. You can't really criticise him for not scoring it because it was incredible goalkeeping. Right, Heilbronn is going to come on and get a run out at centre forward. And we're also going to take off Bordalas. Levi Burrows can come on for him and be a nice little goal threat from the set pieces. But 20 minutes with Heilbronn as well. I've been talking about Heilbronn since I first signed him at Coventry. I want to end this series with him as a real top striker. So that's one of the reasons why we've moved on Hendrik and moved on Van der Winden and kept Heilbronn around, because Heilbronn is my boy, and I want my boy to be the one who becomes the star. Right, Ricky Pilbrow comes on in midfield. He's just recovering from an injury. That's why he's not yet starting. I think probably Ireland and Pilbrow is my first choice midfield, both for Manchester United and for England. Jude Bellingham at 31 now. We saw in the summer, I wasn't really picking him ahead of Pilbrow and Ireland, and I suspect Pilbrow and Ireland is going to be a combination we all get very used to in every match we see between now and the end of the save. And of course, the save ends with us winning the Champions League and then winning the World Cup. That's the script for this season. If it doesn't come off, I'll be very, very sad. Right, Steve gives it to Larson. Larson now to Muniz. Muniz out to Everton Antonio, who's got loads of space, shoots from range and tucks it into the back of the net. 3-1. That should be us securing the victory for tonight. I've just realised, because of obviously the licensing change on FM24, Inter's abbreviation is the city name for them, because I've got the real name fix on. They're still called Inter in game, but I guess that has to be overridden in the Champions League because of the Champions League license, and they have to use the official Football Manager version for the Champions League, which I've not noticed before. Unless their abbreviation is always that. Is there abbreviation? It can't be. It's INT normally, isn't it? Isn't it? Right, Muniz to Larson. Larson floats it over to Yamal, and that's his second goal. He maintains himself as a goal a game player. A far post header. Not the kind of goal I expected when I saw the name Lamine Yamal. I didn't expect far post headers to be his speciality, but now I see he's a 6'1" physical beast. I expect we'll see quite a few of them. But it's 4-1 now. And the entire front three, in fact, the front three haven't scored because Elunga didn't get one. It was Larson who scored that one early on. But at least we've got Yamal and Muniz scoring. They're the two really, really exciting ones. And Heilbronn chasing around, making a nuisance of himself up front as well, is also jolly nice to see. And this has been relatively comfortable for us today. Although Inter knocking the ball around quite nicely. Pafundi, who was a great player for me in the talent exodus save that I did with Brighton. So I've certainly got previous with him. And now Heilbronn running out into the left-hand side. Yamal has gone infield to cover for him. Pilbrow bursting out of midfield is there to make it 5. We are a very, very good football team. And I think we demonstrated it there in that highlight, because that was just excellent from everybody involved. Heilbronn and Yamal rotating their positions to drag players all over the place out of position, creating all that space for Pilbrow. I mean, who's picking up Pilbrow there? The two centre-backs are concerned with Heilbronn and Yamal. Pilbrow's got all the time in the world to pick his spot. And that was a jolly fine performance. And Hugo Larson, an unsung 10 out of 10 from central midfield as well. I barely mentioned him apart from when he scored, but he got 3 assists and a perfect performance from the now 30-year-old. I mean, we don't keep a lot of old men knocking around at this football club, but Hugo Larson gets to stay because he's blooming excellent. Look at that for a Manchester United career. How he stayed at Eintracht Frankfurt for so long, I do not understand. I mean, we've picked him up for a steal there. Lovely old stuff. Right, that is a near faultless start to the season. We are now going to get some football matches played, and we'll probably be back in the next episode for this Real Madrid game in the Champions League, because that feels like quite a big one. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.